Well, hello. I want to thank everyone for our Economic Developers Can Help the Economy by Protecting Local Businesses and Workers during COVID-19 webinar. And we will be starting in just 2 minutes. I'm waiting for a number of people to sign in, and then we'll go ahead and get started. So I'm going to go on mute for about 2 minutes and let some other people sign in, and then we'll start the webinar. All right. I have a couple more people coming in. This is a very large group that we'll be presenting to. I want to thank everybody for joining us. So this is about primarily the Paycheck Protection Program that was signed into law by the CARES Act from the federal government. This program has been changing rapidly, and we've been trying to talk to some experts, and I'll get into that in just a second. But I want to introduce myself. My name is Ron Krisha. I am one of the founders and the operating officer for Golden Shovel Agency. I also happen to have the, I don't know if it's the luxury or the curse, but I am a Minnesota state legislator. So I've been able to tap into some of the information that we're hearing in the legislative side as well in Congress. So the information that I'm sharing with you today is as much up to date as I could get, and I just want to talk to you a little bit about some of the conversations that we've had. We've been talking to the SBA. We were on a webinar with them yesterday, and then also some local lenders, as well as some federal congressional legislative aides. So this is the best information that we could compile in this short order. And as you can see, the date on this is April 2nd, and things have actually changed this morning a little bit, so I'll be able to cover some of that. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. By way of housekeeping, there is a chat function, and you are welcome to use that and send me questions directly. There's also a question and answer, and I'll be monitoring those and watching them as we go through the conversations today. Okay. I have one person that just said they weren't able to hear the audio. I hope you can hear that now. Please, if you can't, send me a note. And I'm not sure if that's just on one person's audio or ours, but I will also be sending out to everybody that registered a recording of this, as well as all the files that I cover. So let's go ahead and just get started. So Golden Shovel Agency has been putting together some resource guide to help out basically anybody. We've been sending out to clients, but as well as to anybody that has asked. And some of the tools that we have for you, we have a COVID resource page that is all the latest communications and resources that we have. We've also put together a social media template. This is helpful if you want to put together 2 weeks worth of social media posts from links to all the major commissions as well as departments of the federal government, that you can help get that out to your businesses and your communities. We also have an article, a couple articles that people are welcome to use. One of them is tips to help businesses navigate through the COVID response. And then we have a federal resources guideline, some content for businesses, as well as some information on the disaster loan assistance. And these are all linkable. And when you get this document, when we send it out, you're welcome to click on these links and just use them all. And we hope that you find them helpful. But let's go ahead and spend some time with the Paycheck Protection Program. So this program was done through the CARES Act, the Coronavirus Aid and Relief Economic Security Act. It was just signed in. It has 8 weeks of cash flow assistance which is 100% federally guaranteed loans. And I have a link here. You can read this through. The applications start today, and I've been talking to lenders who are already starting to process those. And this will be open from today until June 30th for employers to try to get some relief for their paychecks. Next Friday, a week from today, independent contractors will be able to apply for those funds as well. And we can talk through that as we go through this. Here's the highlights of it. Any small business that has less than 500 employees will be eligible. The loan has a maturity rate of 2 years and an interest rate of 1%. No need to make loan payments for the first 6 months. No collateral or guarantees are required. There's no fees. The loan covers expenses dating from February 15th through June 30th. The loan will be fully forgiven if the funds are used for payroll costs, interest on mortgage. I apologize, I see I typed the word loan here twice, how quickly things are happening. And then forgiveness is based on the employer maintaining or quickly rehiring employees and maintaining salary levels. Forgiveness will be reduced if full-time headcounts decline or if salaries and wages decrease. And I want to just take a moment to talk about that, because that seems to be the big question mark, is if someone gets a loan, how are they going to know that that will be forgiven? Because that's the real positive piece of this. And banks are also making sure that they won't have loans on their books. So what we understand, and as we've been talking to the SBA and talking to federal contacts, is if a company gets a loan, let's say they get a $20,000 loan, and they maintain their employees through that 8-week period, any expenses that were used for payroll, interest on mortgage, rent, and utilities will be 100% forgivable. So as long as you keep paying your employees and you keep them on, that will be a forgivable loan. If you take a loan out and you can get 2.5 times your loan, so let's say you calculate your needs as an employer at 10,000 and you get 15,000, you use 10,000 for payroll, interest, mortgages, rent, and so forth, and you use 5,000 for other business expenses, the 10,000 would be forgivable. The 5,000 would stay on as a loan that would have to be paid within 2 years at an interest rate of 1%. So that's how we understand this. The money will flow through qualifying SBA lenders. There are no fees to the lender. So even though the lender will accumulate fees for processing the loans, those fees are paid by the CARE Act or the SBA, not by the borrower. So this really is truly designed to be a pass-through of money from the federal government through the SBA lenders to the borrowers with forgiveness. Qualifications. Sole proprietorships will need to submit schedules from their tax return showing income expenses from the sole proprietorship. Independent contractors will be submitting their 1099 miscellaneous. Self-employed will need to submit payroll tax filings reported to the IRS. Fund usage. Payroll and commission payments, group health benefits, insurance, mortgage interest, rent and lease payments, utilities, and interest on any other debt obligations that were incurred before the period. Those are the forgivable pieces. If a business uses these for other items, that piece may not be forgivable. So as long as they're using them for these activities, the reasonable expectation is that the loan will be forgiven. One tip that I received was to create a separate bank account to track these funds so the record keeping is clean and easy. How much dollars? The maximum amount you can receive is $10 million, and you take your monthly average payroll costs multiplied by 2.5, and that will give you the number that you're eligible for, up to $10 million. If you're a seasonal employer, the monthly average cost will be calculated differently, and the lender will use a 12-week period beginning either February 15th or March 1st and ending June 30th. If your business did not exist before June 30th, 2019, the lender will look at your costs in January and February of 2020. As I understand it, there's no guarantees. Basically, you're putting in best faith, you're putting your information out, and as a business, you will need to show that you have a need and that you're experiencing hardship, and then that will be forgivable. How to apply? As part of your application, you'll be asked to verify the following, and I will be pulling up a couple documents and sharing a sample application that just came out this morning. The uncertainty of the current economic conditions make it necessary for your business to continue operating, so the funds will be used to retain workers and maintain payroll or make mortgage interest, lease, and utilities. So essentially, it's to offset as much of the costs that are being accumulated during this period. The business does not have a SBA loan pending, and so you can't duplicate. By the way, one of the things I was looking at, there is a set of qualifications you have to answer, one of which is that you don't have another SBA loan pending for the same purpose, and that you haven't defaulted on an SBA loan. And then there's also some questions around whether or not there's outstanding debt in terms of child support and so forth. So just be aware of those. Those are on the qualification side. And the other thing is that during the period beginning February 15th and ending December 31st, the business has not received amounts under the Paycheck Protection Program for the same purposes. So all three of these points are just pointing to the same thing, which is you can't double up and try to use one program on top of another program. How to forgive the loan? 8 weeks after the loan signing, all expenses can be forgiven, and we've already talked about these. Keep your records, and the lender will help make a decision within 60 days. SBA lenders, they're going to be processing the loan application. Fees are covered by the SBA. Disbursements are expected to be with a short turnaround. We couldn't get an actual day from our federal contacts, but they were just saying this is as fast as they've ever seen anything moving, and they expect everything to be turned around in short order. First come, first served basis. So it is very much expected right now that people will apply and these funds will be used up very, very quickly. I don't have a time frame, but I would say when we send this webinar out and we send files out to everyone that's on this webinar, feel free to distribute that to your communities as fast as possible so they can get loans into their SBA lender or loan applications. So I'm going to cover 3 quick files here, and I'm going to pull these over and you'll see me unshare and share my screen. So bear with me for just 1 minute as I pull these files across. So first one. So the first file I'm going to share with you, and I received this from my lender. This looks like it's the Paycheck Protection Loan Calculator that they're using. You can share this. You can use it with your businesses or yourself to help people walk through this, but this will give them an Excel file that they can walk through to try to get to a requested loan amount. And this covers all the areas that they can put together: cash tips or equivalents, dismissals or separation, health benefits, retirement benefits, all of the things that are included in this, and this will get them to a requested loan amount that they can use for the application. There's a data needed tab where they can walk them through all of the information they're going to need to present to their loan. So this is a checklist that should be very helpful to try to make this process very efficient. And I'm going to take 1 second here. I have 3 questions that came in. So one of them is the 1% or a 0.5% interest rate? What I learned today, and the best information that I have is it is a 1%. Now I do have the latest documents, and I'll be going over those as well. The other question that I got was, should a business start the process online or go directly to an SBA bank? I would highly recommend that if you have a local lender, you talk to them. That way they know it's coming through. You can do it online as well, but I've seen the best success right now talking to local lenders so they know it's coming. And also, the local lenders have a tremendous amount of applications coming in right now, so that would maybe help with the bandwidth. So this is one file you're going to be getting. I hope everybody can see that. That is the Paycheck Protection Loan Calculator. Okay, I'm going to set that one aside. All right, and sorry for the delay in pulling up files, and I hope everyone can hear me again. This screen is the latest Paycheck Protection Borrower Application Form. It is a fillable PDF. You can pull this online. We'll be including this, so everybody that's on here that we have your email, within an hour or two after this webinar, we'll be sending you these files, as well as soon as the recording for this webinar is done. One of the major changes they added between yesterday and today was they added some more categories to whether you're a sole proprietor, a partnership, C Corp, and so forth. As of yesterday, they didn't even break this down. So things have been happening pretty quick. But here is the information. And then you'll just walk through this application. As I went through it this morning, if you have all your documents, it's something you can probably pull together in about 20 minutes, maybe a half an hour. And everything's here. And then basically you're going to sign this and get this over to your borrower with all the documents as quick as possible between today and next week. I would imagine that will be very helpful. Again, things are happening very, very fast. So one of the things that we've been recommending to economic developers and to businesses is don't wait. Put this, get these applications in. You can always turn down the loan, but you can't apply for it if the funds dry up. So this is something people should be doing right away. All right, and I'm going to pull up just the last document that I have here. And this is the latest fact sheet that we received this morning. And again, I'll be sending this out. And much of what we've already talked about, and it will all be in here. One thing you should know, payroll costs are capped at $100,000 for each employee. So if you have an employee that's making more than $100,000, it's only going to be forgivable for the up to $100,000 portion. And then you can apply to your local lender, as somebody said, or visit the SBA for a list of them. All that's included in here as well. So I think it's fairly straightforward. The biggest uncertainty we're seeing is people are just, as with anything new, wondering, how do I get going and get everything put together? The new application is very, very straightforward. It's one that I think people will be able to fill out without a lot of hassle. And they're not asking for a lot of the collateral or personal guarantees and other things. So go ahead and recommend that people start filling that out. Lenders advice. So this is advice that I've heard from a couple of lenders, and I've been talking to credit unions as well as banking associations. They said, talk to your lender right away, which I know it seems very obvious, but talk to a lender, because they're hearing the most information on their side as well. And not all banks are choosing to participate. So make sure that they actually will be doing that. They're saying plan for the next 3 to 6 months. Make sure you're looking at a recovery of that. That's what they're hearing at this point. Be ready to produce required information quickly to help with the application. In that loan calculator document that we put together, there's a second tab that has all the documents that they should get. The one thing that we're hearing over and over and over is don't panic and draw on lines of credit too unnecessarily. What I am hearing is, unlike the financial crisis of 2008, there is liquidity in the market, there is money out there, and the federal government's releasing some. Now, I'm not trying to be a financial expert. I'm not trying to be, any expert on any of this. I'm just telling you what we're hearing. But right now, on the legislative and congressional side, we're hearing there's liquidity and that these monies will be released quickly. And so hopefully that will alleviate at least the next 8 to 10 weeks. Have patience. I heard that a lot. The banks are going to do the best they can, and it sounds like they're just a pass-through. So the information will be sent to the banks. The banks are going to process that. There will be fees, but again, those will be paid by the SBA, not the borrower. So there really is no unnecessary risk for the borrowers, and they should be able to handle this. Okay. I will be answering questions if there's any up, but I do want to also let you know that we do have our next webinar a week from today, or on April 8th, and we'll be talking about how to tailor your message in a time of crisis. So we'll be also talking about in that one how you can help your businesses or yourselves communicate as things are coming up. So I do have one question here, and that is the difference between the EIDL or the pay protection. The other loan program, we're not going to get into here because I don't have all the current data. So to the person that asked me that question, I can directly respond to you with an email, and I can try to get you more information on that. But this is just geared around the payment protection program. So I will try to get that out. Other questions that folks have for us? You're welcome to throw a question out. But otherwise, I suspect you're all waiting for the documents, which we'll turn around as quick as we can. One question I did have is independent contractors. The independent contractor side, from what we've heard, is very similar to the Paycheck Protection, except the independent contractor, they're their own sole proprietor. So they'll be applying next week, and what they will have to do is they will have to show their hardships with whoever they're getting contracts with. I've heard it's a very similar to this process, but again, there'll be some uncertainty around it. But again, there's no guarantees. There's no collateral. You're going to apply for this. And as long as you're doing record keeping to show I'm using the dollars for these acceptable things, then you will find out that the forgiveness process should be pretty straightforward. So hopefully that helps as well. And I know this is all moving very, very fast, but we will make sure that we get this to you. Okay, so one question we received is, in the case that a employee is let go in the next few weeks after a company receives assistance, how would the loan be adjusted? So one of the things that I want to say very quickly is that this is designed to keep people, keep their employees on. If someone is let go for whatever reason, and I know there's lots of ways that people may be letting them go. If you're actually letting them go and you're not, in other words, you can't let somebody go and then get funds to pay that salary for that person that's not there. So that will all be probably worked out when you go to the forgiveness side. But if in an ideal situation, if you have 10 employees, you continue to pay those 10 employees, you will be forgiven for that salary and those payroll benefits of those, plus rent, utilities, mortgage, and interest, and benefits, health benefits as well. Another question I have is, what's the difference between the SBA loan and the CARES Act? Okay, the SBA is managing the money that came from the CARES Act. So all of this money has been created through the passage of the CARES Act, and it's the SBA that's helping manage this, as well as the Internal Revenue Service and some other ones. Independent contractors cannot do anything until next week. That's correct. Independent contractors, your window starts next Friday when you can apply for funds. One note on the independent contractors is I looked into an independent contractor just can't get, say, a $10,000 loan amount and then get that on top of contracts that are still being paid. So if you're an independent contractor and you're still being paid your contract, that's not an economic hardship. So the company that is doing the contracting with you will have to demonstrate that they've reduced their contract to you and to show the hardship. So in all of this, the one big piece is economic hardship. A company has to demonstrate that because of the COVID crisis, they are experiencing a reduction of revenues and an economic hardship. That's what's offsetting them to get the forgivable loan. Our 503Cs and 501Cs, C3s and C6s eligible too. Yes, we've heard nonprofits are eligible to apply for this, and that should also be covered in the fact sheet that we'll be sending out. And you'll find the documents will be very, very helpful, as well as the links we provide in here will be the most up to date. Okay, a lot of great questions. I can see everybody is struggling like everybody else to try to figure this out. Any other questions for us, for me? Well, I just want to add a big hang in there. I think we're, going to get to the other side of this at some point. We're hearing a lot of programs that are coming our way, and so that will be good for people to just hang in there. The other thing I do want to share, and we're going to talk about this next week, is messaging in a time of crisis. And there's a couple of things that I want to share with folks as they go in through this. One of them is don't stop communicating. I hear a lot of questions where communities say, well, should I stop communicating because everybody's hearing information? The answer is actually the opposite. Over communicate. Send more information out, because even though you may be overwhelmed, your audience really, really is looking for this information. The best analogy I can give you is 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago, people were watching cat videos. Now they're watching for information on how they can solve the problems in front of them. So don't stop communicating. The other couple things that I would say is communicate with empathy and just be responsive to them. Let them know, hey, this is hard. We're all going through this, but here's how we can get through this, and then give some solutions and try to give them the best information. People are looking for authentic, trustworthy sources, and if that's where your information is coming from, it will be received very well. So don't worry about over communicating, because right now people are looking for good information. They're looking for authentic sources, and if you as a community leader are communicating now with authentic information in this time of crisis, they will remember that when we get on the other side of this. I think the biggest thing that you don't want as an economic development leader or something else is someone to say to you in June, hey, we heard nothing from you during the time that we really needed to hear from you. So now is the time to over communicate. Now is the time to get the best information out, and just have some empathy. We're all struggling through this together. So that would be some advice that I could give you on a Friday, and hopefully this is helpful to you. We'll get these documents turned around to everybody that registered for this webinar, so I hope it was helpful. I will stay online for another 5 minutes just to answer questions if they come up. Otherwise, I'll try to answer them individually as I see them come through with emails. But want to thank everyone for joining us. Okay, it looks like people are starting to drop off and get back to other activities they have. So stay safe, and we'll be turning the documents around very quickly. Good luck, everyone.